Boxing Truth here. Alright, prediction vid. It's prediction time. Another groundbreaking prediction. For the main event this Saturday in Brooklyn, Barclays Center, between Adrien Broner and Jessie Vargas. A lot of animosity going down for this card. A lot of the fighters on the card don't like each other. That's why Jermell Charlo was sitting on the B side of the table at the press conference. Anyways, let's get into this fight. A lot of hype surrounding Broner, his beef with this weird-ass rapper I never heard of, beefing with the Charlo brothers. It's like taking some focus away of his actual opponent, which is Jessie Vargas. This fight is a tricky prediction. I've been going back and forth. It's not the easiest prediction in the world because we don't know what level Broner is at right now, especially after that weak-ass performance against Mikey Garcia. I don't know if it was a bad night or maybe he overtrained. He came in very light for that fight. It's like 138, I believe. So I don't think it was a lack of conditioning in the fight. He showed pretty good conditioning. Well, especially since he wasn't throwing no damn punches. Maybe that's why. But he finished the fight a little stronger in some rounds in the second half of that fight than Mikey Garcia. But Mikey Garcia just simply outpointed him. Outworked him, outlanded him, and that's why he won the fight. There was nothing impressive what Mikey did outside of the few rounds in the first half of the fight when he was fresh and strong. Broner felt some of the power. But in the second half, Broner's physicality was starting to have an effect. He was starting to push Garcia back, and Garcia was starting to fade. But Broner just wouldn't throw no damn punches, so he couldn't win any of those rounds. So he's going back to the same venue that he lost in his last fight against Mikey Garcia. In that fight, 2 of the judges gave him 4 rounds. I believe 1 judge gave him 3 rounds. In a fight where he barely drew any punches, was thoroughly outworked, thoroughly outlanded, and in my eyes won 1 round in that fight. So you got to ask yourself this question. If the judges are willing to give Broner 4 rounds against Mikey Garcia in a fight where he didn't throw many punches, had a weak performance, how many rounds do you think they'll give Broner against Jessie Vargas if he's a little more competitive or has a better performance or just does a little better? So that's why this fight prediction is tricky. I don't think Vargas has the power to knock Broner out. Maybe he has the power in his right hand to get his attention, maybe rock him a little bit. But Broner's a tough guy. He's physically strong. He has a good durability. He's been in there with bigger hitters, stronger fighters, and he's been able to go the distance with these guys. He's only been knocked down twice in his career, I believe. Both of those against Marcos Maidana. Broner does have some talent. I don't consider him a complete bum. He's just not an elite fighter. He's a certain level of fighter. He's a B-level fighter. But at times can be even worse, since when he's not on, or when he's having an off night, or he's mentally unstable, his performances will dwindle if he's not at his best. When he is focused, when he is on, he's not a bad fighter. Pretty good fighter. Honestly, if it came down to, say, Jessie Vargas and Broner were fighting at their absolute best versions of themselves, and they were at their peak, they were both confident, they were both focused, both really into the fight, Broner overall is a better fighter in terms of ability, in terms of athleticism. He's more explosive. He's a bigger puncher. He's a better athlete. He's a faster fighter. If both guys are at their best, Broner should beat Jessie Vargas. But this is a 2018 version of Broner coming off a bad loss, inactivity. So how confident is he? It's a good thing that he changed trainers. He's got a more militant type trainer, you know, at least according to him. I'm not in the gym with him, so I don't know how he's training. But maybe he's at least getting some authoritative voice being thrown at him. Not some dick riders, not some motherfuckers just hyping him when he's hitting the heavy bag. He's actually getting some guys that are criticizing him, telling him that, you know, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you need to work a little harder, shit like that. So that's good for a fighter when you don't have a bunch of dick riders around him telling him that he's doing good and he's not. But Vargas is confident. He's a solid boxer when it comes to his 1-2, his jab. He's tough. He can take a punch. He's experienced. Been in there with some seasoned veterans. But I know what level he's at. He's not elite level. I'm not high on Jessie Vargas. He's also a certain level of fighter. There's only a certain level of fighters that he can beat. And I'm not sure Adrien Broner is one of them. I know he's a slight favorite going into this fight, but when this fight opened up, it was practically 50-50. The odds makers don't even know who's going to win this fight, because one guy has more ability but is undisciplined and mentally fucked up. The other guy is mentally right. You know, he's got his head on straight, but he doesn't have the ability of the other fighter. He's not as big a puncher, not as fast, not as explosive, not as athletic. His footwork is not the best in the world. Broner is more of a stationary slip, dodge, lead right hands, counter puncher. But this is why it's a tricky prediction. Vargas won't be able to knock Broner out. He's a volume puncher, but his volume is not as high as Maidana. Maidana throws more punches. Vargas is not as physically strong as Maidana. He's not as physically strong as Sean Porter. He's not as skilled and he's not as accurate a puncher as Mikey Garcia. He also got schooled and dominated by Khabib Al-Haddiev in what was a highway robbery. I watched it again. I cannot believe how corrupt boxing can be sometimes. Al-Haddiev won 11 rounds in that fight. Totally schooled, dominated Jessie Vargas. All he did was walk him down, let Vargas throw punches. He would slip him, dodge him, and counter him easily. So Vargas has a trash defense. He's easy to hit. He's actually easy to beat if you have a certain amount of ability. All you got to do is stay at a certain range against Vargas. Let him throw punches, especially if you're a counter puncher. Let him throw his jab and constantly counter his 1-2 or counter his lazy jab, which he always drops after he throws it. You can pop him if you're from a southpaw stance. You can pop him with an overhand right from the southpaw stance, a jab. And if you're an orthodox fighter, you counter the shit out of him with a straight right hand down the pipe. And that's Broner's best money punch. His lead right hand, his counter right hand, counter uppercuts. The counter punching style is what beats Jessie Vargas. Look what Manny Pacquiao did. All he did was step out of range, feint, counter, step out of range, counter, step out of range. Every time Vargas would throw, it was so easy to beat Jessie Vargas. You just have to have a certain amount of ability. You gotta know how to counter. You gotta understand distance. You gotta understand range, and you gotta be a little fast. You don't even have to be that fast. Al-Haddiev is not even that fast. Average speed, but he used his counter-punching skills to defeat, unofficially, Jessie Vargas. So this is why I'm leaning towards Broner in this fight. It's because of the Al-Haddiev fight. Now, all those guys, Al-Haddiev, Vargas, Broner, they're a certain level of fighter. They're pretty much almost around the same level. And Vargas got thoroughly dominated in that fight. So he's actually a lower level than Al-Haddiev. Broner had a good performance against Khabib. I know Khabib was coming off a long layoff, but it's the style. Khabib doesn't have the style to beat Broner, especially not that version. It's because the reason why is because he doesn't throw enough punches. He's not a volume puncher. You got to throw more punches. You got to be busier, and you got to be accurate, and you got to be a little strong to beat Adrien Broner. You got to have physical strength. You got to be an accurate puncher, and you got to be a volume puncher. You got to outwork Broner. That's how you beat him. Vargas is a volume puncher, but he's not as physically strong. He's not the most devastating puncher. He's got a good right hand, a sneaky right hand. But it's not something Broner, it's not the type of power Broner hasn't felt before. He's also very open to counters, and that's Adrien Broner's game. There'll be a lot of opportunities for Broner to capitalize, but is he going to let his damn hands go? I know, I must be out of my damn mind. I'm going to pick Adrien Broner by controversial, close, competitive decision because I feel his counter-punching style and the openings that Jessie Vargas is going to provide is going to help Broner win this fight. If Broner is truly in shape, if he's truly, if he has a desire to win, and I don't know if he does. That's the big risk. Because I don't like his antics at the press conference. To me, it shows that, the pressure's getting to him, that he feels it. The face-off at the weigh-in, I didn't like it. He looked away pretty quickly. Doesn't mean anything, but it doesn't really give me that great confidence to pick him. But all Broner needs in this fight is have a little success. If he has some success early, that's going to give him that confidence boost. I've seen some fighters get scared to death when they enter that ring, and then they have like a good, successful round, and then their confidence just builds up. That's all Broner needs. Have a good first, second round. His confidence will come back up, and then he'll start fighting better as the rounds progress. I expect a competitive fight. Vargas is going to be tough. He's going to take shots. He's going to be throwing a lot of punches. His volume is not as great as Maidana or other fighters, but he throws more punches than Adrien Broner. So that's what's going to keep him in the fight. But he's got too many defensive holes, and he's going to be there open for counters. And the straight right hand, the lead right hand for Broner is going to be the biggest key punch in the fight. I got Broner winning by split decision, close, could be controversial. I wouldn't bet the house on it. So if you bet maybe $50, if you got money to blow $100, don't go overboard because you just never know with Adrien Broner. But I believe overall, at their best, head to head, Broner has more superior attributes. Vargas has more volume, but overall, Broner to me is the more explosive, the more talented, the more physically gifted fighter. But it doesn't matter if you have more talent than the other fighter. If you don't have the desire, if you don't have the passion to win, it trumps the talent. You could be more talented than a fighter, but if he has more passion than you, if he has more desire to win, if he has more will to win, he's going to beat your ass. So if Broner desire to win is there, he should win the fight, but it'll probably be by decision and close. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this fight, who you got. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.